Hello everyone. Now apologies for the camera being a bit wobbly before we start. I meant to grab a tripod when I left school and I forgot, so we'll just have to battle through with a little bit of a wobbly camera. This is just a little bit of an intro to the TI Nspire calculator. I think a fair few of you might be freaking out a bit by the number of buttons and functions it seems to have. Look, it's just a calculator, guys. You'll learn about a lot of the buttons and what they do, a lot of the functions you can perform on it. A bit this year, some more next year, and so on and so on. Nothing to be too scared about. Before you worry about what you're looking at here, you're looking actually at a computer screen. I have the software for the calculator on my laptop, and this is how it comes up. It looks a little bit different to your handheld. It has the calculator, but the screen's on the other side, just here. So here's the buttons and all the calculator. But over here, here's where the answers will be. So it's just a little bit bigger and easy to see, so it's a bit easier to film, that's all. Before we get right into it, let's just reassure ourselves that it's just a calculator. It does all the normal things that calculators can do. So watch the cursor. Look, 6 times 3, see that appear in the screen over here? 6 times 3. And then the button you get the answer with is the enter button. So 6 times 3 equals, and there we go, the answer is 18. So it's just a normal calculator in a lot of the ways. You've got your numbers just here. You've got your adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing there. This is the button for the answer, enter, not the equals button over here, but this button that's highlighted in red at the moment. And you've got some letters down here for various things that you'll come across throughout the year. A lot of students have often suggested they don't know why they put it in alphabetical order. I'm not sure either. This day and age, I'm not sure why they didn't do it in the order of a QWERTY keyboard, because that's what most people are used to. But anyway, they put it in alphabetical order, and we'll just have to bear with it for that. One of the main things that I and your other teachers would really want you to be able to do is to manage a lot of the settings yourself. So we're going to go up here to this button where it's got the on. We're already on, so it's the home button. When you press that, this is the menu that comes up in your screen. Now I'm pretty sure yours will look a little bit different, but I'll still have all the main functions there because you've just got a tiny bit newer model. What we want to be able to do is to be able to deal with the settings. It says settings and status down here. Pretty sure yours just says settings. I can click on that. It's much easier just to click the number of it. It's got a 5 next to it, so I'm going to click the number 5. And up comes another dialog box. I still want settings, so I'm going to click on 2 for settings. And I want general settings, so I'm going to click on 1 for that. And there we go. This is your general settings page. Now, some of these we won't change. This is what it does in default. It naturally has float 6 and these other ones. This one here, first of all, float 6, that's the number of digits an answer will display. So if your number of decimal points is really long, it'll stop after it's displayed 6 digits in total. You can change that any way you want, 1 through to about 10, I think. Down below that though, down 12, there we go, we have what's called fix. Now fix is very important because that's what you do to fix your calculator to a certain number of decimal places. Now let's go back up to float 6 and just put it the way it was, and I'm going to go OK and get out of that, and I'm going to open a calculator page. Now let's have a look at this particular sum. 3.2589 multiplied by 6.2147. Now as you'd expect, that is going to have a lot of digits in the answer because there's a lot of decimals. Do you notice it only went 20.2531? There's your 6 digits. That's what float 6 is all about. Let's go back up here. Let's click on home. Let's go to 5, 2 and 1 to get the settings. Let's change that to fix 2. So when I click on fix 2 and say OK, and go to another calculator page, watch what happens when I do a really large decimal again. So 3.2589 multiplied by 6.287 should have a really large decimal as its answer, Let's click on enter. There's your answer, 20.49. Now, it's probably 20.4873, blah, 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 blah. But the calculator rounds it to 20.49 because we've put it in fix 2 mode. If you wanted 3 decimal places, clearly you'd put it in fix 3, and so on and so on. That's really helpful if we're doing a lot of measurement questions and they're consistently asking you to round your answer to 2 decimal places. You can do that so that you don't need to think about the rounding at the end. You just need to worry about getting the solution right. Alright, I'm going to go back into the settings again and show you 2 more things we might change. This one, radians. It defaults to radians and we'll leave it there most of the time. When we're doing some geometry and some measurement stuff called trigonometry, we'll actually put it in degrees mode. But it can stay in radians for now, that doesn't really matter. Alright, click on that. And the other one we might change is this one. Auto and exact mode, pretty much the same thing. The default is auto and it gives you the exact mode. When we want a decimal answer, we go for the approximate mode. Now, to give you an example of what this is all about, let's leave it in auto mode. I'll get out of it again and I'll get a calculator page. Now, over here, we've got a button that saves me showing you later on. It's the pi button. It doesn't have its own button, which is a little bit annoying about this calculator, but it brings up a dialog box. So I choose pi. Now I'm going to do pi multiplied by 7. Now for those of you that remember that pi is about a little bit more than 3, my answer should be about 22 or something like that. Watch what happens when I click enter. The answer is 7 pi because that's the exact answer. If I change my settings again, let's do it really quickly now because I've seen me do this a number of times, and I change it to approximate mode, and OK, and get a calculator page. Now, if I do pi times 7 this time, it actually gives me the decimal approximation. It's 21.99. It's about 22. So that's how we get the exact, the approximate answer rather than the exact answer. Now I'm going to go back to this page over here. Remember when we had pi times 7 gave me 7 pi? Another thing you can do is if you want to leave it in exact mode, just go Control and enter, and then it just gives you the decimal answer anyway. Now that's up to you whether you want to change the settings or get used to doing Control enter. I find the Control enter a little bit annoying, so I tend to change my settings, but that's just my personal opinion. Okay, let's move on from the settings and just look at a few of the basic keys that you might use. Naturally, we've talked about numbers and things like this. Here's a few that you're probably going to get to know pretty well. The control button here, yours will be blue, I believe, and what that does is that gives you the function that's at the top of the button. So here you've got an equal sign. At the top of it you've got a whole lot of choices like not equals, greater than or equal to, and so on. Now watch what happens when I click Control and equals. Again, a dialog box comes up and I get to choose between any of these signs that I want to use. So your control button will be very important. If we had a button for every single thing we wanted to do on the calculator would be the size of a dining room table. So clearly we have to fit in functions hidden in the background, and the control button helps us with that quite a deal. Other pretty normal stuff you've got here, you've got brackets if you need brackets, you know that. This is an interesting one here. This one is the negative sign. If you have to enter a negative at any time, it's this one, not the takeaway button. That's takeaway. This is the negative button. Down here we have a comma. Also down here we have a space bar. Now that's like your mobile phones, old mobile phone space bar that you used to have. Decimal point, pretty straightforward, that one. Here's something that we'll use a little bit of. This is the X squared button. It simply means to square something. So I'm just going to get rid of this and I'll get rid of that, so we don't want that anymore. I'm going to say, well, you know what 5 squared is, or I hope you do. It's 5 times 5. If I want to square it on a calculator, I would click 5 then click the X squared. Now notice it puts the squared symbol just up there. I hit enter, I get the answer 25. Now it's given me 25.00 because I'm still in fixed two decimal places mode. We can change that later on, we won't bother I don't think, but that's why it's given me 25.00. Again, 8 squared is 64, hit the X squared button and enter 64. Now above that is the square root button. So if I want a square root, I hit Control and that button, and up, if you notice, comes the square root frame. The square root of 100 should be 10 because 10 times 10 is 100. So I'm going to get the square root of 100. Bang, there you go, it's 10. What else have we got? I've already shown you pi a little bit. This is a bit annoying about this. I would prefer that the calculator had its own pi button, but it doesn't. So when you click pi, you want to use pi, you have to then select it from here. So let's say that we've got pi multiplied by 7.5, hit enter, there's my answer, 23.56. Down here, we've got a few little buttons you might use at various times, and again, they've crammed a whole lot into one. So hit that, and up comes a dialog box. We may need a question mark. We certainly need a degree sign sometimes. We might need a minute sign. You might need a colon for various things. So you have to choose them from the dialog box. Just like I said before, if they put every single function to its own button, the calculator would be enormous. I want to get rid of this, just like a computer. If you want to go backwards, what do you hit? Escape. There goes that. I don't want that anymore. Alright, one more thing I think we'll have a look at, and I think the rest of the stuff you can pretty much learn in class as you go. One of the buttons you're going to get to know is the menu button. Have a look over here. When I hit the menu button, a drop down box comes. Now we're going to use the menu button a great deal for algebra. Not so much for the other ones this year. We might use it a little bit in probability and statistics, but certainly for algebra. So look, when I have algebra and click on it, another dialog box comes down. And we're eventually going to learn how to use our calculator to solve, to factorize, and to expand. Have a look at all those functions. If I go up to actions, look at all the different functions there are for that. For number, for calculus, for probability. All those functions are hidden in the background, and I'll just get out of it by escaping again. Escape, escape. We go through the menu button. So when we get to algebra, you'll get to know the menu button very well. It's menu, and then it's algebra, and then we choose what it is. Whoops, I've skipped off it. Then we choose what it is we want to do. So we'll get to know that button pretty well as well. Look, that's about it. It's a scary looking device, but the more we use it in class, the better we're going to get. And as I said, you'll gradually learn bit by bit about a few little functions, and then in year 10 you'll build upon that, in year 11 you'll build upon that, and so on. So, see you later.